Okay, we might get going. So we're nice and quick off the mark. And can I just ask you, as we go through the tour, that you kind of keep up with me, like from room to room. You're very welcome to come back after we've had our tour and revisit things. But there'll be a public tour coming here at 11:30, so I'll have to keep you moving along, if you don't mind. Thank you. Well, William Morris said, "What business do we have with art at all unless we can all share it?" Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Carrick Hill, the home of Ursula and Edward Hayward. My name is Diana Harris, and it's my pleasure to be your guide today. We will share together this marvellous exhibition of William Morris objects, all found here in South Australia. Ursula Hayward was a member of the Smith family. The Smith's pastoral and mining ventures reaped great reward, which they shared generously with all of us, the people of South Australia. As you probably know, William Morris was the father of the arts and crafts movement in the mid to late 1800s in Britain. William Morris rebelled against Victorian industrialisation and mass production. He endeavoured to provide well-designed handmade products using natural materials, with the worker being involved in the product making from beginning to end. Good working conditions, shorter working hours and good pay rates reflected his socialist policies. Morris & Co. led the arts and crafts movement for decades, but enthusiasm for its products waned in the years following World War I, with the Art Deco style of the 1920s and the modernist designs of the 1930s becoming popular. South Australia is an unassuming contender in the history of Morris & Co. and the arts and crafts movement. South Australia has stewardship of one of the largest collections of decorative arts by Morris & Co. outside of the United Kingdom, with the Art Gallery of South Australia holding a large proportion of this collection, along with Carrick Hill, the University of Adelaide, various churches safeguarding stained glass windows, and private people cherishing inherited or purchased objects. South Australia was very lucky to have the Smith family. The legacy for Morris & Co. here in South Australia belongs to the Smith family. In particular, Joanna Smith, who was Ursula Hayward's grandmother. The Smith families we consider were founding collectors here in South Australia from about 1880 to about 1900, and they were Morris & Co.'s most prolific international clients, over generations acquiring a vast number of objects to furnish their numerous houses here in South Australia, at a time in the history of Morris & Co. when William Morris was leading the artistic direction. Following his death in 1896, the firm continued to flourish under the directorship of John Henry Durrell. The successional collectors were Joanna Smith's daughters, Jean and Erliston, who were Ursula's aunts, and Joanna's daughter-in-law, Mary Isabel Smith, known as Molly, Ursula's mother, who purchased mainly between 1890 and 1910. Greatly influenced by Joanna Smith's absolute obsession for Morris & Co. products, the ladies inherited a passion for Morris & Co., but had a preference for those items designed by May Morris, William Morris's daughter. May was a very talented artist, and she took charge of the embroidery department at Morris & Co. In 1885, when she was just 23 years old. Historically, May's designs have more than often been overshadowed by her more famous father, as was the case for John Henry Durrell. We here could be classed as historical collectors. Does anybody in our lovely group have any Morris at home? Oh, can you tell me what you've got?
I've done a quilt.
You've done a quilt.
Oh, several actually.
Have you? Oh, how marvellous. Well, you'll be interested today because I don't know whether you've heard of Michelle Hill.
Oh yes.
Yes,
Oh.
her quilts are on the beds.
Well, I've
Whilst
copied.
they're not Morris, they're influenced by Morris.
Yes.
And was another lady over here that had something? No? No? Okay. Well, I don't have anything, which is very sad. Visually disappointed, but you never know. Historical collectors in the Bar Smiths were Ursula and Christine, who were Joanna Bar Smith's granddaughters. And they inherited items or collected mainly after the firm's closure in 1940. Morris & Co has remained in the public's consciousness, having been reinvigorated to suit modern preferences. Unfortunately, the original high-quality artistic craftsmanship of Morris & Co has been lost to history. However, the obsession with Morris & Co here in South Australia remains very strong, with many individuals and organisations, including Carrick Hill, ensuring that precious objects remain safe, so you don't need to worry. I'm sure that Ursula Hayward would be absolutely delighted to welcome you like-minded people into her home today to share in this marvellous exhibition. Now that's my brief overview of Morris & Co and the Bar Smiths and the Haywards, and the reference to Morris & Co that's